Apple held their WWDC keynote yesterday, and wow, it was an event. So I'm actually here in the creator studio that Apple set up for some creators to use to film, so we didn't have to, film in a crappy hotel room with bad lighting and bad audio. So thank you to Apple for doing that. I actually really appreciate that. There is so much to cover, and I have a limited amount of time, so I'm just jumping right into it. Let's go. I'm picking the highlights, the stuff I know you guys care about, so let's get right into it. But we have to start with Vision Pro. This is Apple's new mixed reality headset, meaning it does both AR and VR, which is so wild. The videos and the demos that they showed, and as soon as they started showing it off, my mind immediately started turning about all the different ways that this could be used. Basically, the way this works is you have the headset on, you're working. So you're working on a document or some email. You're in a space where you can see the world around you. But you also have these virtual app windows open. And you can move them around, you can rearrange them, you can work. But once you, say you're done with work, you can turn the digital crown, the same crown that's basically on the Apple Watch, and you could adjust it to be, now I'm just in VR. I'm blanking out the world around me. I'm just solely focused on watching a movie or watching a video or playing a game or something like that. You can choose how much of the world around you you're letting in. And this is brilliant in a way because the VR headsets that I've tried, it obviously locks you off from the world around you. You can't, interact with people in the room. You can't see what else is going on. If it's like you're playing a game where you're walking around, if it's not a good VR headset that sets up some sort of virtual fence, you can bump into furniture or the dog or whatever. So my mind immediately went to obviously productivity stuff because yeah. But what I was thinking is you're no longer constrained by the amount of monitors you have or the monitor size that you have. The world around you is your computer. You can pop this headset on, you can pair a hardware Bluetooth keyboard and the Magic Trackpad or a Bluetooth mouse or something like that with it, and you just go to work. So this table that I'm sitting at right now, if I just had a keyboard and a mouse, that could be my desk setup right there. It's gonna make desk setup videos kind of boring, but other than that, I actually really like this idea because I have two desks in my office, one with my monitor and mechanical keyboards and all that stuff, but I have one where I film at. And the one where I film at could end up being a virtual space to work at, and I find that very fascinating. When working in these, you just move the windows around, you can add windows and objects to interact with, you can use the space to get work done. And it's not gonna 10x your productivity, but it gives you a new space to work in. It gives you something new. It's like when the iPhone was introduced, or the iPad, or the Mac way back in the day when they invented the mouse and stuff like that. It's a new way to interact with objects and documents and files in your work. Now, what really excites me about the headset is apps, because of course, that's what I talk about most on here. But developers and Apple are making custom 3D applications. But the headset can also run iPad apps. Pretty cool. So, day one, whenever this thing is announced, and it sounds, what we saw from the keynote, it's going to come out early next year. So from day one, there's going to be thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of apps ready to run on this thing that are good, solid, native iPad citizens and can now run on Vision Pro. What was one of those kind of these uncanny valley things was when it comes time for FaceTime calls and for video calls and all that stuff is you actually use the headset to scan your face and it makes a virtual version of you. Now, I'm really curious what this looks like in practice and actually getting to try it because creating an animated person of you that's reacting in real time to your facial expressions, to your blinks, your movements, that is not something that's easily done. It's so wild to me. One of the nicest touches that I think that separates this from other VR headsets, because it's a mixed reality headset, is when people walk into the room and you're in full VR, it kind of starts to blend reality with your VR experience. So that way you can see the person, you can talk to them. It shows them your eyes, so you're making eye contact with them. So you're actually having a conversation with the person. They're not just yelling at you while you're wearing a VR headset. And you're like, wait, what? I'm really excited to work in mixed reality. It's not going to 10x my productivity, like I said, but I do think it's going to be a new experience and something that could potentially change the way I view technology and the way I work and the kind of apps and stuff that I cover on here.
This video and all of my WWDC 2023 videos are sponsored by Dark Noise. Dark Noise is one of my all-time favorite applications. This is a noise app that doesn't just sound good, it looks good as well. Dark Noise has over 50 different high-quality sounds, from white noise to thunderstorms to calming beaches to spaceships. When playing a sound, you get these stunning animations. But the app takes it a step further as well. You can make mixes of the sounds to build custom scenes. One of my favorites that I made mixes heavy rain and thunderstorms with creek and windy tree sounds. This is extremely calming to me. Dark Noise is the app I use when I need to focus and get some serious work done. I can distract myself really easily and avoid the task at hand. To combat this, I throw in my AirPods, turn on noise canceling, and put on Dark Noise. The rest of the world simply just disappears and I'm focused just on the task in front of me. Dark Noise isn't only for working. It's great for that, but it also works out really great if you're somebody that needs white noise to fall asleep to, or maybe you want to just put on some lake sounds and relax. Dark Noise is available on the iPhone, iPad, and Mac. Dark Noise is free to download, so go check it out. I will put a link to it in the description below. My thanks to Dark Noise for sponsoring this video and all of my WWDC videos.
All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes. iPadOS 17. Now, if this isn't the year of Christopher Lawley, I don't know what is. This year, we've got already off the top, before WWDC, we got Logic and Final Cut, and that was kind of like my big bucket list items for iPad that I've wanted for years now. So everything else is just a cherry on top for me this year. The major feature that I want to talk about just right off the bat, Stage Manager changes. So excited for these. It's funny, if you all know Federico Vitici, he's another big iPad person. Him and I have been just absolutely nerding out over the Stage Manager changes while we've been here at WWDC. So big changes include now freely resizing the window. So it works a lot more closely to the Mac. So you can drag a corner and it's not going to size classes anymore. You're resizing the window. And on top of that, you can now move windows around without like background apps like dramatically shifting to the other side. You can move things around and it feels a lot more like a native windowing experience that we have come to expect. I truly believe this is going to solve a huge headache when it comes to working in Stage Manager. I'm very excited about that. The other big thing that's coming is you can now shift click on apps from the dock and from the recent section on the side to add apps right into the current stage that you're at. No longer have to like do the drag and drop dance where you're like Tom Cruise in Minority Report where you're like, yeah, you don't have to do that anymore. That's absolutely really exciting about that. That was like, I think my top feature request from last year. So I'm excited that that's there. You can also use webcams now as well. So you can use a webcam that's built into the studio display, but I also found out that you can use USB webcams as well. So you don't have to use the studio display webcam. If you have like a Logitech one or a third-party one, whatever, you can plug that in and use that as well. Also, interactive widgets. So excited for this. So this means if you have like a task manager widget or a calendar widget with like a new calendar with a new event button, or your task manager, you can check off items and stuff right from the widget. It will no longer jump you into the app when you tap on it. So excited. This will be a new API, so developers will have to update their apps to support this. If you're running the betas already, it's not going to be something you can get right now. It'll be something you have to wait till the fall when developers can issue updates. Speaking of widgets, Music Widget got an update as well. You can now play music right from the widget. It looks really good. I'm excited for this one. And there's also a Home widget as well. So you can toggle smart home devices right from the home screen of your iPhone or iPad. You just hit the button. If you got a garage door, you can open the garage door, which is one I'm going to use. You can turn on fans, lights, whatever. Customizable lock screens came to the iPad this year as well, and I really like what they did with them. So first off, there are now animated wallpapers that look really good. Kind of putting me out of business there with my wallpaper pack, huh, Apple? Yeah, that's okay. They're beautiful. I'm okay with it. The lock screen widgets are here, and they are on the left side, and I love that they didn't just put them underneath the clock. Like how it is on the iPhone, because putting them on the left side, you now have this column of widgets that gives you the ability to just have like a nicer looking widgets, nicer experience. You can put more there, and I think this is just like a good way of doing it. But live activities are also coming to the iPad. So for people out there like me that use Timery for time tracking, you can have the live activity right there on your lock screen for what you're time tracking and how long it's going. I think that's going to be really, really cool. Spotlight got a new feature that I find really fascinating. So there's now called app shortcuts. So when you're running something in Spotlight, so say you type in photos, you can now actually in Spotlight type in one of your favorite albums or something like that, and instead of it just opening the Photos app and you having to browse through, it'll jump right to that album. I thought that's a really clever idea. I'm all for Spotlight improvements, making Spotlight better. Notes got the ability to link other notes together, just like Obsidian or Craft or any of those big note-taking applications. But once you link the notes together, you can jump in between them really quickly. That's awesome. I think that's going to be absolutely huge for people that use notes and be able to like create lists of stuff and be able to link certain projects and things together. The iPad also got better PDF support. So this is awesome. I get so many PDFs that are just like these flat PDFs that I'm supposed to fill out a bunch of information, especially when it's like contracts or like W-4s and all that stuff, like, or 1099s. I don't even remember what I'm supposed to fill out. Anyways, I get all these like flat PDFs that are just like, yeah, I gotta go in and manually create all these text fields and stuff. And with the new PDF updates and all that stuff, there's going to be autofill options. There's going to be better support for annotating in PDFs and things like that. Very excited about that. This isn't just built into Notes, but it's also built into apps like Files. Freeform got some really cool updates as well, including support for hover and tilt and the ability to snap to shape, kind of like how Notes has the ability to draw a shape and it snaps to like a perfect version of that. Along with that, you can do what's called follow along with somebody. So if you're collaborating with somebody and they're working in the document, you can follow along and see what they are doing. So you can really, micromanage Chad there. I'm just kidding. Don't micromanage Chad. Let's shift over to iOS 17. A lot of the stuff I mentioned for iPadOS 17 is coming to iOS 17. A lot of stuff go hand in hand. But with specifically one thing that is in iOS 17, actually it is also in iPadOS 17, but it's better autocorrect and dictation when typing or obviously dictating something. Big fan of this. I can't spell to save my life, so I use dictation a lot. And when I can't use dictation because I don't want to be one of those weirdos like in Costco yelling at their phone. And I see you people. I get the option to do better autocorrect and be able to type things out and actually spell things correctly. And so, there's also better grammar checking as well. Specifically for the iPhone, that's something that's really interesting is standby mode. This is kind of like the nightstand mode for the Apple Watch, but it shows when you put your iPhone in landscape, it will then kind of pull up a clock or some widgets, and this is completely customizable. There's different themes. You can put different widgets here. It's really interesting in the way that you can customize this and make it your own, because it doesn't just work when you put your phone in landscape. One of the really nice features is it remembers which MagSafe puck you use. So if I have a MagSafe puck in my office, I can have a specific standby mode for my office, and I have a MagSafe puck in my bedroom, so I can have a specific standby mode for my bedroom. They can be completely separate. Now, you don't have to use MagSafe for that. It just needs to be on its side and plugged in, or charging in some way. So if you have like a vertical Qi charger or a lightning cable or something like that, it just needs to be perfectly still for that. AirPods is getting a really interesting feature, adaptive audio. This blends noise canceling and transparency mode together. So what this basically does is, say you're walking down the sidewalk, it's gonna block out the cars or the construction site or whatever, like the people mowing their lawns or whatever. It's gonna block that out. But if somebody comes up and starts talking to you, or somebody's riding a bike up behind you and says, hey, on your left or something like that, it will let that through. So theoretically, you shouldn't have to ever switch between transparency mode or noise canceling again. It should just be static for that. Another really interesting feature is now when you're on a call, FaceTime, regular call, whatever, you can quickly mute or unmute from the AirPods. Really nice. That's something I've been wanting because like when I start having calls, I'm one of those people that paces back and forth. So I'll like leave my iPhone in my office and I'll pace through the house, and sometimes you just want to mute yourself. At WWDC keynote, there were 3 new Macs announced: a 15-inch MacBook Air, a Mac Studio, and the new Mac Pro. The 15-inch MacBook Air is incredibly light. Like, it feels impossibly light. I picked it up, and it was one of those things, like, the size to weight ratio, like, it didn't make sense in my head. It was weird. It didn't flow right, but it's impressive, especially considering it's a bigger laptop. 15 inches is on the bigger side of laptops. And it's really interesting, and it looks really good. It looks like a bigger 13-inch MacBook Air. But the one that I'm really excited about is the Mac Studio. So what I haven't shared with you all is now that Final Cut for the iPad is out, I actually sold my MacBook Pro. I've just been editing everything off my iPad now. I don't really need a Mac, but I would like to get a Mac for big video projects and as well as always-on automation stuff. I think that would be really important for the way I work. So for me, I'm looking at this Mac Studio and I'm just like, yes, this is everything I want. The new M2 Ultra chip is way more than I need. I will just stick with the M2 Max one probably. I say probably, but who knows what'll end up actually happening. But the M2 Ultra, I saw a demo of it and it is incredibly impressive. The amount of processes and background rendering and all these major applications and files and stuff, it's just opening instantly. When I was watching all this stuff, I was reminded of my old film school days back in 2007, 2008. We used to have to set up our video projects to render overnight in order so that we can come in the next day and check them. And oh boy, if you made a mistake and didn't catch it before you started that export, you were just like out of luck. It was not a good thing. Now, these things are practically like relatively instant. It's so wild. So those are just some highlights of what was announced. I don't have time to get into it all. I'm working on a few other videos. I'm doing one where I'm asking a bunch of creators and developers that what their favorite features were announced and stuff. So I'm gonna have much more. And then when the public betas and the official releases are out, I'll have detailed walkthroughs, of course. But thank you all so much for watching. Thanks to Apple for setting up this space. It looks gorgeous, like way better than my permanent space setup at home. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great day.